options in the United States, not limited to the United States, though. The UK and Canada are also options. The first webinar we had was a youth, kind of a youth celebration, where we wanted to speak about the resilience of students, because it seems to be the theme of our South African government at the moment, because resilience is obviously very important during this dispensation. So, yes, Adriana, it is being recorded. So, welcome to this webinar. One thing, we are recording this session because we'd like to send the link afterwards to people who would have liked to attend but couldn't. Alternatively, they can then check it out on the YouTube channel that is going to start in weeks to follow. So the structure of this webinar is as follows. We have a 6 p.m. deadline. So our conversations are going to be as crisp, not wishy-washy, but as crisp as possible so that we can meet the time. I will introduce our first speaker, Dr. Adriana Murray. She is a phenomenal scientist who I met because she was a laureate at the time. Hey, she had been awarded funding for postdoctoral research, and we met at a L'Oreal event. We kind of hit it off because she does not look like a scientist, first of all, and you'll see her just now. And I just found that she was the cool one. She was a blonde with dreadlocks and all stars, and I thought, this does not look Einsteinish. There must be something about this chick. Well, I wasn't wrong. She is a theoretical physicist. Like I said earlier to Shelley, she is an aspiring extraterrestrial. Now, I've asked Adriana many times why the heck she wants to go to Mars, but I'm sure in her talk, she'll be able to tell us why the heck she wants to go to another planet. We're trying to figure ourselves out here, and she wants to go and fiddle up there. So over to Adriana. Thank you so much for agreeing to being with us today. And I'm sure we're going to be inspired. I know science is your life, really. It's not just a passion. And hopefully some students will be able to draw from that inspiration and figure their subjects out going forward and not drop the maths and science stream. So thank you. Over to you, Adriana.
Thanks so much, Robin. It's always a pleasure to see you again, remotely, of course, in this era. But yeah, the connectivity that enables us to have these kind of calls is really the benefit we've had before, but I guess are using more now that we are limited to it. So fantastic initiative. I think the maths and science part is more important than ever, but also just being in touch with each other and being able to share questions and uncertainties in order to be resilient. Which feels like a necessary skill, as you said, in the current situation, not only in South Africa, but around the world. So I'm going to share my screen because a picture paints 1,000 words. So I am able to do that.
Just 1 second, Adriana, 1 second. If there's somebody who's got feedback on their side, please can you mute your device? Thank you.
Cool. So lovely to meet everyone. Glad to have everyone here on the call and look forward to some Q&A. So I'm told I must keep it to 10 minutes. So let me try to do that so we have time for some discussion. I believe getting out of your comfort zone is what generates new ideas. And so while this is not necessarily correlated with leaving the planet, for me, it literally is. But I think we all understand that we learn fast. We are exposed to new solutions to problems that we've had before that we might not have been thinking about in the right way by getting out of our comfort zone, by exploring, whether that means chatting to new people, visiting new places, studying new topics, or literally exploring and going to another planet. This is what drives new ways of thinking. So I thought I'd start off with a bit of a description of the quantum molecular dynamics of the coronavirus molecule, because there's a lot of uncertainty going around nowadays about this virus. And in fact, I'm joking. I'm joking. No equations left here. And we're not going to talk too much about the coronavirus molecule either. So let me go forward.
I was about to say it would be easier to just get the vaccine.
No, so the fundamental nature of science in our lives, I think, starts in the beginning. And that's literally the fact that all of our atoms and molecules come from supernova events that require, astronomical proportion events like the production and creation of stars, the evolution of these stars, and the eventual explosion that creates the periodic table that we know makes up the atoms that make up our bodies as well as our planets. I hope my internet is okay. Is it okay?
We can hear you, but you were frozen for a bit, but you're fine now.
Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. So if we look at the power that provides energy for life on Earth and for all processes in the rest of the solar system, this comes from the sun, right? And I'm skipping through these because we're not going into detail about the science, but when we look at these powerful phenomena around us, like the production of matter and the production of energy, the ways that we try to understand these bodies are indeed through fundamental research. And while we might not understand how this fundamental research directly impacts us, what we do have to understand is the essential role that these bodies play. And these are related to space, but let's get even closer to home and talk about the H2O molecules that sustain all known life on Earth. In fact, the water on Earth is believed to have been delivered from space by bodies like comets and asteroids, but that's another topic for another day. But even the water has mysterious origins, yet being such a fundamental part of our daily lives. And understanding where this water came from and how life could have emerged in bodies like oceans, where we think life may have emerged, are all the topics of really exciting parts of science. When we look to food, or let's say life, planet Earth is unique in that we can see living systems from space. As far as we can see the rest of the solar system, life is not so easy to detect remotely. Of course, there are candidates for perhaps oceans where perhaps life can be found, like the moon of Jupiter called Europa, the moon of Saturn called Enceladus. So water is really a crucial part. Life on Earth is visible from space, but there may even be other areas in the solar system that also host life. Again, a hugely exciting body of research, but bringing it closer to the challenges that we face, water security and food security are really fundamental challenges that we are going to have to think about in broader perspectives than we've already been thinking. Because to solve these challenges, we are going to need to think in different ways, perhaps than the way we have been thinking so far. Another category, and I'll return back to these categories of power, of water, of food, and of data as we think about our future on Earth and perhaps our future on other planets. But the category of data, I think we might think that as humans, we're the first to have built technology and created databases and communication systems and really produced huge amounts of data, whether it's on social media or through experiments. But in fact, nature got there first, as usual. And the DNA molecule, which is another commonality to all known life, is the information carrier between parents and offspring that enables life to propagate on this planet. A molecule that we are still making huge leaps in understanding how this information is encoded and passed on through generations. So what Robin didn't say, she calls me the nutty professor. So I would like to say, I've been thinking in this way for some time. So, I guess I've always been like that, although you might not recognize me on the right. But that's me in 1997. And that's not a fancy IoT project or robotics or anything like that, but a paper mache 1990s style high school project on a city on Mars. And the categories, if you can see, are power, air, water, food, crops, city life, situation. And whether we are looking at the science in terms of, where we come from, how the sun was fundamental in producing the environment where life emerged, how water is a common necessity for all known life, how food is produced by photosynthetic organisms. These are all things we should appreciate and respect and understand on Earth, but things that we really need to harness if we are thinking of leaving this Eden where we can breathe the air, where food grows by itself, where water flows maybe not so clean anymore, but in rivers that flow naturally through where we live. So these categories are essential for human life wherever we are. And of course, science and technology underlies our understanding of these phenomena and our ability to build and improve and create livable conditions for humans, whether we're thinking about Earth or beyond. So I have a video to play here, but Robin, you'll tell me if, unfortunately, after the storm, our internet here has been a bit up and down. I'm going to play the video, but if it is not coming through clearly, then please let me know.
I'll let you know.
Because you might ask what all of these concepts mean. And let me show a video to talk about how environments on Earth and requirements for water security, food security, and living in extreme environments on Earth can be used as a tool to both improve living conditions for people on Earth, but also to think about living in even more extreme places than the Saharan desert, for example, like on the surface of Mars. So let's try with the video, otherwise I'll explain.
There's no sound, Adriana.
Okay, let me talk you through it. So the Off-World Project is a series of habitation experiments in the most extreme environments on the planet to prepare for life on the Moon, Mars, and beyond, and to improve standards of living on Earth. During each experiment of several months, a carefully selected team will arrive in an isolated location and build their infrastructure from scratch, running research projects, living as a community, and running research experiments. We are looking for resilient people with diverse expertise and a passion for adventure, with unique stories to tell. We need to believe in our dreams, and when we believe in those dreams and take active steps towards achieving those dreams, that is when it becomes possible to think about creating a proudly human future, whatever planet we are on. So that was a very brief introduction to the Proudly Human project. Excitingly, we've opened applications for our project, and this is, you can find this video on YouTube, which is basically a call for candidates to apply. Now, you might think, is science for me? Is technology for me? Is applying for the Off-World project for me? And what I would hope to convince you during these few minutes is that understanding the world around us is something we all find fascinating, because as humans, we are naturally curious. And while we might not all become science professors asking questions about the way things are around us, trying to understand these things and trying to build technologies that enable us to live more curiously, more compassionately, and more comfortably, perhaps, in the conditions that we find ourselves in. You know, this is at the heart of science and technology, really. It's an appreciation, a celebration, and a way to think about society as we go forward into the future, and how we can improve our society going forward into the future. So to give a clue of where the Off-World project will launch, this is not Namibia, although it looks like it, and that's why it's been given the name the Namib Dune. This is a dune on Mars. So there are parallels between South Africa's next door neighbor country, Namibia, with the conditions on Mars. And the primary one is the lack of surface water. So once we have selected our team from applications and invitations of all the amazing people I've had the opportunity to meet on my travels around the world, but particularly from Africa, we want a strong representation. The team of 10 that's selected will go to Namibia, to the desert in the national park, the Namib Kluft. They will arrive with a few vehicles with equipment and set up camp from scratch. Not just a camp where we'll make a few fires and braai some steaks, but a place where we will do research, a place where we will build our own shelter, provide our own power with solar arrays and batteries, generate our own water from the atmosphere with an atmospheric water generator, manage our wastewater with a portable system that uses only 300 watts to process all of the wastewater that the 10 of us produce, powered by the solar panels. We will grow food. It's only a 40-day project, so we're looking at sprouts, we're looking at fungi, we're looking at other very quick-growing crops, and the IoT systems that monitor our heart rates, our facial expressions, our power production, the food that we eat. All of this data will be collected through an IoT system and beamed up through satellites to our ground control team. So I think I'm almost up. Let me wrap it up. This was a very brief overview of a lot of ideas and projects that I'm working on. Please check out the Proudly Human website if you'd like to hear more. But in essence, I think we're living in a challenging time. There's a lot of uncertainty. But one thing we can know for sure is that I think this statement kind of represents it for me right now, that we are not passengers. We're already in space. We're zooming around the sun. We are limited currently to living on this planet, and we'd better start appreciating that we are all crew. And I think whether you're doing art, whether you're doing technology, whether you're doing science research, whether you're doing history, whether you're doing whatever aspects of society you're investigating, we have to really think carefully about the kind of projects that we are working on. Think of it as though you're applying for a new society. When you think about how you're going to dedicate your life, imagine you were applying for the Proudly Human project to go to Mars or to go to Antarctica. What would your project proposal look like? What are you going to do in the next 5 to 10 years to create the skill base that you will be needing in order to make a positive impact on as large a possible scale, whether that's in your community, in your country, on your planet, or perhaps literally beyond your planet? I think understanding that we all have a role to play and understanding the real beauty that science and technology can bring to the world if we have enough people with diverse perspectives working on it. It doesn't all need to be profit driven. It really has to be a celebration of our planet, of our humanity, and perhaps of planets beyond our planets in the coming years. So that's all from me. My dream is to zoom off in a vehicle and explore other worlds. But whatever your dreams are, I think studying science and technology is a great platform to enable you to have a wide impact and a skill base that can really seriously, with all of us, collaborate and create a future that we can be proud of. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adriana. I think I'll open the Q&A with 2 questions from myself. The one question is, so science always seemed far removed from we who thought we were more normal than you were. There are people from different academic backgrounds, whether it's at high school or who are currently working already. How does science impact, or how should science impact where they are and what they are doing? So for example, I know on the call, we've got somebody who is an artist with science appetite. Nosipho, I have seen you, and a hello from me. How does science, how would she blend artistic flair with science, for example? And I'm sure somebody else would ask a similar question. How do I blend science with whatever I'm doing that's non-science related, with the traditional view now? So what how should we be thinking about integrating science where we are?
Yeah, so I always love to answer questions with more questions, because I think the most important answer you get is actually from inside yourself rather than what anyone else says. So maybe let me give an idea. Like, let's say, did you say Nosipho? Sorry, I didn't see your name.
Yeah, Nosipho is here.
Okay. Let's say you were thinking about applying for the Proudly Human project, not to make Proudly Human project the topic of this conversation, but it's a nice thought experiment. Let's say you're an artist and you haven't yet done any science training. You might see this project as quite a science technology sort of based project, but what would an artist bring to that party? Maybe an actual party, okay, me tease that word. But I was thinking large-scale sculptures that are visible from space that we produce in the desert sand. I was thinking a creative time where everybody had the chance to collaborate on building something of beauty, whether that's a piece of music or something that we build that's useful within our settlement, that says something about who we are, about each of our cultural backgrounds, and how the new culture that we created together represents the community that we are forging for the first time. You know, these are broad answers, but I guess if you could think about it yourself, what would you propose in your project from an artist's perspective that would contribute to a community? Then expand that answer to society at large, you know? I think, and if I could give a simple, so of course art plays such a fundamental role in thinking about where we come from, who we are, and where we're going. You know, that's a question for science, but also for arts and culture and history and so on. But maybe in a simple word, I think coding and an understanding of how to harness technologies is really so key to so many things that we do nowadays, including art, you know, being able to represent visually through understanding how to use technology, whether it's like web design all the way through to, I don't know, creating massive 3D digital virtual reality displays. I think the interface between technology and art is getting even closer. But yeah, a nice thoughts experiment is what is your proposal, whether you're thinking about your life on Earth or your next 5 to 10 years in study? What's your proposal about how your learning is going to impact society in a positive way? And art is most definitely an important part of that.
Okay, thank you for that. I hope that inspired some thoughts in her as well. My second question before I open the floor is, I'm a development practitioner, and you spoke about the role of science in water security and food security, which is a burning issue in South Africa and broader than South Africa anyway. But we in South Africa at the moment are having the conversation at length and at depth because of our most recent instability that we've had. So how then would science, how should we think scientifically about sorting out the food security issue, as an example?
Sure, and these are the fundamental resources that we are challenged with, right? Is power security, water security, and food security. And no accident that these are the first three I put up, because these are the fundamental requirements for life: power through the sun, first of all, food and water, right? So I guess for me, studying the physics of this was what opened my mind to the real depth of the conversation you can have about how important water is. You know, I can go on for hours talking about why liquid H2O is a medium in which complex biochemistry was able to emerge. So for some of us, we love the science, and we'll dive into that question for like years, me included. And it's a privilege, of course, and a poor life where you live without a decent salary and watching all your friends buying houses and cars, and you sort of suffer through as a poor PhD student. So it's not without challenges, and it's a luxury to dive that deep. Maybe what you're asking is, we're not going to dive that deep, perhaps. We're not going to do a PhD in the origin of life, maybe. Maybe some of you are. But let's say you want to go do a few years that can really give you practical tools. And I think building things, I think understanding technology can be done through a lot of reading online. But I think if you're going to learn to really build and create things, I think an engineering degree, although this is like not a new emerging field, we've of course had engineering around since the day when we're building civilization. So it's not like data science or something like that. But I would say in this day and era, we need people with engineering-based training in order to come up with practical solutions to such things. And the example that I gave of our wastewater management system, it's not a quantum computer, it's not asteroid mining, it's not something far-fetched. This exists. It's a 2 by 1 by 1 meter box, so not quite portable, but you can put it on the back of a bakkie, and using 300 watts, it can manage the wastewater from 10 people. So that's your wastewater coming directly, your shower water, your water from washing dishes, all of that kind of stuff, including all the sewage, let's say, and it processes it into a form that can be used for agriculture, can be used again for washing clothes or dishes, maybe not for drinking, but this thing runs on 300 watts and it's that size, you know? So why are we not more aware of these kinds of technologies? And awareness is a big thing. So science communication, technology communication is another huge aspect in terms of being able to share the solutions solutions that people come up with. But in terms of coming up with these solutions, I think basic knowledge of engineering is required in order to come up with this pump system, for example, that this company has built that enables us to do this with such a low power requirement. So that's kind of a basic answer, nothing new there. But I think even what I've said now is that there's a broad range of skills that we need. One is the fundamental research. One is the engineering to really build the stuff that the fundamental research people suggest. And another is to communicate that these things exist. So science communication, another interesting one. And then, of course, I mean, some of us are going to have to go and advise government on science and technology, which would mean, again, you need a degree in either science or technology, because communicating these things to the public is maybe not as important as communicating these things to the people who are able to implement them on a large scale.
Policy, yes.
Exactly, science policy. So there's all sorts of exciting facets of science that doesn't necessarily, you know, mean sitting down and doing a PhD in quantum physics, but can be all sorts of other aspects of society.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you for that. I was making notes that it doesn't mean that you have to sit in a lab as a scientist. You can explore the area of science and still be relevant in solving the problem that we have globally. So thank you for that. I'm opening the floor now to any other questions that you would like to pose to Adriana before we hand over to the next section. Anybody have a question? Anybody?
Feel free, guys. No such thing as a silly question ever, especially for the ridiculous combination of topics I just threw out there.
Robin,
and it can be a practical. Yeah.
There's a question here privately sent to me, is that how is the application process, or what is the application process?
To the Proudly Human initiative.
Yes, please.
Sure. So if you just go to proudlyhuman.com, then there's a tab Apply, and you can fill out the whole application form. But if you're interested in just sending us a message, you can also do that on the website. And we will, once we're in full forward motion, we will get back to everybody who has written any comments on the website to see how we could collaborate. Collaboration is really the core of what we're doing. So the wider we can collaborate, the better. So yeah, check it out. And even if you don't think you're going to apply to go to Mars, I do think it's a really interesting thought process to think of your next 5 to 10 years as an application for a space program. What am I going to do towards planet Earth in terms of being a crew member, in terms of forging a positive future? Proudlyhuman.com.
Fantastic. Anybody else? Anyone?
Sorry, can I come in?
Yes, Nosipho, welcome.
Thank you. I was trying to type. Okay, let me see if I'll switch on my camera. Yes, hi, this is Nosipho. Thank you for welcoming me in. I am an artist, a contemporary dancer originally, and then I also went into broadcasting. Podcasting, television presenting, and radio. My greatest desire has been to combine art and science together, but I was never able to study science. I wanted to find out in this meeting if someone like me as a creative would still need to study science to be involved in the world of science, or in the collaborations, would there be a concern of having knowledge of science myself as a creative? Thank you.
Thanks, Nosipho. Yeah, there could be a range of different answers, I suppose, to that. And I would say not necessarily. You know, nowadays things are moving so quickly that to sit and spend 3 years just to have a degree is maybe not necessary anymore. So I would recommend looking at a degree if that's what you feel like you want to take on, especially if it's catered towards a particular aspect of science that you're looking towards getting involved in, like computer science, for example, could be an interesting one to merge, whether you're looking at digital platforms or art itself or performance or any aspect of that. But I think more and more now there's short courses. I think there's short courses we can do to prove that we've got some kind of qualifications in a science topic. A lot of these are free. Furthermore, a lot of them are offered by reputable institutions like MIT. I know does the first year of maths, I think, and physics free. If you up for the whole first year, then you can do that. But I'd say even shorter topics are useful. What about doing a course in blockchain? That's just a few months where you become more knowledgeable than before on a topic like that, in order to think about sharing this information with the public through a podcasting or something like that. I think being able to communicate ideas doesn't always mean that you're the deepest understander of these ideas. In fact, sometimes the people who understand them deeply are not the best ones at communicating them, because they're coming from a different perspective altogether. So I think especially in the performance side, the podcasting and communication side of things, I think it's good to keep yourself up to date. And we're lucky now to have access to all of these different courses, online MOOCs or whatever you would want to call them, in order to patchwork your own degree together. Reputable institutions are obviously always good, so that you can put them on your CV and be accredited in the correct way. But yeah, certainly, I think through the internet, we can celebrate that. Perhaps we can start to look at building our own degrees through patchworking different courses together that we do online, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Adriana, for that answer. Those were exactly my concerns as well, is understanding the language, and the experts in science don't necessarily use the same language for us regular people. And in the arts, that's where the communicator can actually share the information and drive the awareness as well, and communicate it in ways that the greater public can digest. So yeah, I do love the second half of your answer, and I will look into the short courses as well to just get that understanding of the field. Thank you so much.
And an example that came to mind now is we had artists in residence at the quantum research group that I was part of in Singapore. So that's another option you could think about, as a strong collaboration with the university department, where both benefit through this new communication that comes out of just the presence. The artists came and spent 6 months in the research facility making artworks about each of the different research projects, and being able, I think, to talk to scientists daily about their work for some period is another way of learning. Which could be interesting. So, hey, go and pitch it to different departments. Say you want to follow around different researchers and understand what their work is, and then represent it in your own way. I know Robin's perhaps set this up for the traditional pursuit of science-related courses, but there's, of course, always options in terms of doing completely new things as well.
Of course. And that's why it's
science. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nosifo. Thank you, Adriana. For the sake of time, I'm going to take one more question, but I'm going to say that those of you who have our contact details, if there are any burning questions, you're more than welcome to email me, and I will filter the right information to you. And hopefully that will help you kind of navigate your journey going forward. So I'm opening the floor to one more question, and then I need to hand over to the next section. Anybody? Okay. Not even our engineer on the platform is going to ask a question, but I'll leave him for now. Nobody.
Hey guys.
I had to prick the bear. Welcome, Nathan.
Hey guys. Hi. Look, I jumped in a little bit late, and so I didn't want to just speak without context. And so as I hear the ball rolling, maybe I'll get something good and juicy to go at. But okay. my stance on study, though, would be that I don't think what should I study is a good question, but rather what problems do I see and which of the problems do I find burning to solve? That's a better approach at going at it. Because like any pursuit in life, it will get difficult. And if your passion is much lower than the difficulty, of the pursuit, then you're more than likely to give up. But if you're passionate about what you want to solve, if there's passion driving your pursuit, then you've got the fuel for the late nights, you've got the pursuit for when there's no help. Physics or the STEM field is known to be difficult. And so, like for myself, from an engineering background, you know, we're not just trying to, in my field, forget about studying, even in the workplace, I might not find it on Google, but there's a customer relying on me to solve a particular problem, and solve it I must. And so there's a passion, and luckily, if I'm equipped with a love for the field as well, well, then my pursuit is fueled by passion and I solve the problem. But so all I'm saying is, yes, STEM is a very, very good field. But if it's not fueled by a vision or by a problem you intend to solve, then it's almost, it's empty. And halfway through the process, this is why it's so, I mean, you know the statistics, people always enroll into engineering studies, medical studies, and they drop out and do a business degree, or they drop out and they do something else because it's difficult. But the nature of science is problem solving. If you're not interested in solving problems, that's my piece. But guys, I'm going to listen for what's next.
Thank you,
Love
Nathan.
that answer.
Thank you, Nathan. We have to go into the next section. Owusu, because of the time, I'm just going to go straight into Shelley's presentation, and I'll do a brief introduction. We are super excited to have Shelley Moss from the University of Alabama for her, but Alabama for us. Take it away, Shelley. I'm sure there are going to be some questions and answers at the end, but I'll leave it to you now. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So again, I'm Shelley Moss. I am the Assistant Director of Undergraduate International Admissions at the University of Alabama. And so I'm really excited to talk to you for just a few moments today about the campus, answer any questions if you have those. So I want to start out with just a very brief overview of the campus, talk about some of our academic opportunities, and then also just leave you with how to get in touch with me if you want to know more. There's lots to tell about the University of Alabama, and I can't possibly do it all just in the time that we have together, but I do want to get to specific questions if you have them. So when we think about why the University of Alabama, there are many reasons, but I'll leave it to just a few, and I'll expand on each of these very briefly. But we do offer what's considered the classic U.S. university experience. If you've seen movies or read books that talk about the college experience with big, beautiful campuses and great buildings and lots of green space and trees, like your classic university campus. We have a legendary network of graduates in a lot of different areas. I'll talk about some of those in just a moment. Your degree will be recognized globally. We have excellent programmatic and university rankings. I'll talk about some of those. I'll talk briefly about some of our science and engineering facilities that we have. They are state-of-the-art and excellent. And speaking of going into space, we have won the NASA robotics competition for the last 7 years. So we are very interested in that too at the University of Alabama.
Great.
We also are one of the top athletic schools in the United States. I'll expand on that. And we're in the southeastern part of the U.S. and for our southern hospitality. You'll be treated well and welcomed to our campus. So we were founded in 1831. We are considered the flagship institution in the state of Alabama. And all that means is we're the largest campus in the state. We're a major comprehensive research institution with 200 plus undergraduate degree programs, about 150 graduate programs as well. All 50 US states are represented, 77 different countries. So you'll meet people from throughout the world on our campus. Close to 8,500 faculty and staff. So when you think about our size of close to 38,000, that's a lot of faculty and staff. We'll take care of you. inside and outside of the classroom. Lots of things to do on campus with 650 plus student organizations. And we're a large campus as well. We're set on about 1,300 acres. I mentioned some of our legends. Our university slogan is where legends are made, and we do make legends year in and year out. So just a few of the graduates that I'll mention here. The first lady that's pictured is Marilyn Hewson, and she has recently retired as the Chief Executive Officer of Lockheed Martin, which is an international defense contractor. And so she is a proud graduate, two-time graduate of the university. Gives back of her time and money. We're about to actually open up Hewson Hall this fall that will house some of our data science programs. The person beside her is Sneakwa Martin Green. And if you're a fan of, if you're a Trekkie, if you like Star Trek, she is the star of Star Trek Discovery that's on now. She also is in Space Jam, if you've seen the new Space Jam movie. She's one of our theater graduates. The person below her, you've probably never seen him, but I would almost be willing to bet you've been to his website. That's Mr. Jimmy Wales. He's the co-founder of Wikipedia. He is also from the state of Alabama and has a master's degree in finance from Alabama. If you like American football, you may recognize the person beside him. That's Mr. Derrick Henry. He was one of our star running backs on a couple of national championship teams. He's currently playing in the NFL, the National Football League, and won the best award for college football players, which is the Heisman Trophy. So these are just a few of our graduates that we have, but we have them in all sorts of areas and concentrations. You'll earn a degree from a top-rated program. I won't go over all of these. I'll only mention two just for the sake of time. Really, probably just one. I've already mentioned that we are a research institution. So we are that Carnegie R1 campus, which is the highest ranking of a campus in the US. We also rank number 2 in the US for internship opportunities. So we want our students to do those kinds of things. They have great access to that as a student at the University of Alabama, regardless of their program. This is an aerial view of some of our science and engineering facilities. They're in the middle of the shot there. We've been doing engineering for a long time on our campus. We were one of the first 5 institutions in the US to offer engineering. So we have about 6,000 students in the program in about 12 different disciplines within the College of Engineering. We do lots of research. Our students get to help with that as well and do a lot of hands-on learning and instruction with that. That's where we do our robotics team that has won those championships for the last several years. It's $500 million invested in facilities in the last 15 to 20 years. So they're state of the art, really up to date. We are in the Guinness Book of World Records for having one of the flattest surfaces in the world, that's where our large scale structure laboratory is, where we can test buildings and things such as that. So really cool facilities. Would love to show you if you could ever get over to visit us. Really quickly, here's just a list of some of our academic majors that we have. I won't go over all of those, but again, 200 plus at the undergraduate level and another 150 or so at the graduate level. So it's almost easier to say what we don't offer than what we do. We can find something that you'll want to do on our campus. You'll earn a degree that's marketable globally. Here are some company logos that I'm sure you recognize. You may even own some of these products, but these are just a sample of some of the places that our students have either worked or interned while they've been with us. Some of these actually have roots in the state of Alabama, such as NASA. The Marshall Space Flight Center is in Huntsville, Alabama, which is about 2.5 hours from our campus. So our students get a lot of great opportunities there. The North American production plant for Mercedes-Benz is about 15 minutes from our campus. If you've seen a sport utility vehicle from Mercedes-Benz, it probably rolled off the production line right about close to our campus. They're also doing research right now for Mercedes electric vehicle. So our students get to do some of these kinds of things. We have a Google data center within the state of Alabama, and Boeing and Airbus have facilities there too. So again, these are places people have either worked or either interned. Lots to do on campus with the 650 plus student organizations. You'll never be bored or be looking for something to do. In fact, you'll have to say no to some things because there's so much going on when you're not inside of the classroom. So we're excited about reopening in this fall with all of our activities coming back online. And these activities make a large campus feel rather small when you get involved in some of these things. So we do encourage students to get involved very quickly. If you're into athletics, we are the school for you. We have 27 national championships and over 15 different NCAA Division I teams. In football, our football stadium, you can see there in the background of the screen there. That's Bryant-Denny Stadium. It's one of the 10 largest stadiums in the world. And that is where our Alabama Crimson Tide football team takes the field in the fall. But our students do well inside and outside of the classroom. And we do have international students in a variety of sports as well. So we do welcome students from around the world to try to play on our teams. So just kind of in closing, where are we? Here's a map of the US, and the state of Alabama there is in red. And as you can see, we're surrounded by some other cities that you may have heard of, such as Atlanta, Georgia. We're about 3 hours away. New Orleans, Louisiana, we're about 4 hours. And about 4 hours from Memphis and Nashville, Tennessee as well. So the city of Tuscaloosa is a metro population of about 235,000 people. This is a picture of the downtown area. It is a safe and welcoming environment. Our students live in a lot of these buildings that you see. There are some apartments close by. So it's a great college town where you can feel at home. The weather is rather nice most of the time. If you're looking for snow, we're not the campus for you. We have a relatively mild climate, between 30 and 35 C in the summer. So it does get warm. Never gets very cold in the winter, between 10 and 15 C. We also have a group called Tuscaloosa International Friends that helps to welcome in our new students every year. And this is an optional thing, but it's almost like you have a family that adopts you when you arrive on campus. So the city and the campus itself really welcome students from around the world. And I'll leave you with that. My contact information is here. I'm available through email or through WhatsApp. And then there's also my website too. We're able to do one-on-one Zoom meetings as well, if that's something that is of interest to you. But I would love to have some of you enroll on campus. So I'll end it with a Roll Tide.
Thank you, Shelley. So since we've just heard what Shelley has said, and she's made a generous open call to those of you who are looking to pursue your studies in the US and specifically the University of Alabama, I want to say that our platform not only initiates the dialogue around these opportunities and scholarships for study and scholarships abroad, but we also take you through the process of applying and motivational letters, assisting with that, preparing you for visa interviews and everything pertaining to those details and logistics, including assuring that you leave country of origin safely and land in your dorm room safely on the other side. And having said that, I would like to ask if there's any one or two questions for Shelley. I have one. What is your rate of awarding scholarships to African and Southern African students?
Good question. So at the undergraduate level, we have two different options for all of our students. And we look strictly at requirements, and anyone that meets those will receive an award. At the undergraduate level, if a student has a qualifying ACT or SAT score and a certain grade point average, they can receive anywhere from $8,000 up to $28,000 per year, depending on their scores.
Depending on this.
And at the graduate level, the funding is contingent upon admission and then also departmental review. But about 35% of all of our students receive some sort of funding at the graduate level. But specifically with all of our international students, that rate is actually a good bit higher. So they do have a big interest in recruiting international students and helping with the funding there. So I don't have any specific by country or by continent, but we are quite generous with our awarding.
Okay. And can you pack on scholarships at the university? For instance, if you meet the academic requirements and you are a talented athlete, maybe a swimmer, would you pack on the percentages then to increase the value of the scholarship as well?
Yes. So students can receive an offer through admissions if they qualify. And then if they reach out to athletics and have some sort of an athletic offer, those can be put together. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Shelley. Anybody else before I hand over to Owusu and then we close it out? Anybody? Anybody with a keen interest?
Someone sent me a private question here for Shelley that they wanted to know. I'm an undergrad. I will be pursuing an undergraduate degree. I wanted to know if my first year I have to leave on campus or off campus.
Yeah. Students are required to live on campus. And we do that for a couple of reasons. Number one, it helps us to have keep a better eye on students. You know, that first year can be difficult with transitions. So we do want students to live on campus that first year. They are able to move off in subsequent years though. But they're welcome to stay on campus too if they want.
Anybody else?
Shelley, so someone is asking me if you can get me a contact for the person so they can reach out to the graduate student recruiter.
Sure. I just put my information in the chat for everyone, but for graduate admissions, let me type that in there as well. It's Dr. Andrew Goodliff, and his email is amg@ua.edu. I just put that in the chat as well.
Thank you, Shelley.
Sure.
What happens if a student would like to pursue a STEM-related program and doesn't meet the requirements, but really wants to go to the University of Alabama? Do you have bridging courses? Because as we've heard from two people now, that science and STEM-related careers are not easy. And sometimes for various reasons, especially with either a rural student or somebody that has been at a school that hasn't had a strong STEM foundation, might not get the required grades, and that then becomes the barrier to entry. Is there a way that you help such students?
There is. At the graduate level, in particular, they look at a variety of metrics to make admission decisions. So they won't look solely on grades. They will look at a combination of letters of recommendation, statement of purpose, resumes, those kinds of things. In fact, the most of our programs at the graduate level as well have done away with things like GRE, the GRE exam. So that's not required for most of our programs now. So we do a more holistic review of our applicants, just to because we know that testing sometimes and access to resources can be limited. So we try to take lots of things into account when we evaluate our students.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Owusu, I want you to take a link from that response and speak to how we actually help students from various backgrounds. Yes, before we close out.
Yeah, but before that, I got a question for Shelley. Another student also sent, please, you can put it in the chat. You don't necessarily need to send it directly to me. So Shelley, a student is saying that with only O levels, are there any bridging courses that they can do since they don't have the A level yet to pursue a bachelor's degree?
Yes. So what we would do is we would actually just look at any high school transcripts beginning in grade 9. So they could send any of the O levels that they have plus what they've done since grade 9, and we can consider all of that together. So they don't necessarily have to have the A level.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you very much. I will let the student know. Or maybe the student already had you. So it's very nice to always work with Shelley here, and she's always willing to answer questions and welcome students. And before you guys join, I was telling Shelley and Robin that my advisor actually and my mentor graduated from the University of Alabama, Tuscaloosa, and I hope to really visit soon. And it is really important that when you're applying for schools, you look out for schools that are welcoming. Students from over 77 different countries. It's really nice, especially in the field of engineering. You solve problems, and it's always important to learn from different cultures how they do things from the engineering perspective, from a regular life perspective, to solve problems. Maybe you might be solving problems this way from your own perspective, but working with students from diverse cultures will cut all the corners and go straight to the point and solve issues quickly. So working with us as a consultant, our main aim is to look out for universities that also looks out for you. Which universities are looking out for your interests? Which universities are able to consider in terms of scholarship? Which university is willing to listen to your concerns and say that I'm here for you? Which university will have time to talk to you one-on-one? That is why we are here, to identify these universities and send you there. And it doesn't only start there. We start from this excellence, start with us right from the application to you get on campus. What we do is that we make sure that we help you find a school, help you based on your credentials, and also whether you want a larger institution, a smaller institution. We try to find the best fit for you in terms of working with you to arrive at that same goal. Secondly, when you get an admission, we also help with a visa application, preparing you for the interview. We also do airport pickups and drop-offs. I know the universities do airport pickups and drop-offs, but some people want to see familiar faces when they get to the airport. There's this story of a student that was going to a specific university in Springfield. So when the student was typing in Springfield, instead of typing in Springfield, Maryland, Springfield, Virginia. So she, instead of taking a plane to one state, she took a flight to the different state. That is why you really need to work with people or a consult that would understand that understands the process, and that can help you. Robin is here to help. Mr. Theophilus is here, and all the top tier study abroad consult crew. We are here to answer your questions. We are here to help you. And if you want to talk to someone from the university, we are here to also help you get to where you want to go. So it is very important that you reach out to us as soon as possible. Right now, fall admission is really close. I see someone has put a question here. Completing fall is really close. Like the deadline, I don't think it's feasible because all the universities, the latest start date, I think is 23rd August. So we have like give and take about 4 weeks or even less than 4 weeks or 30 days to start. It is imperative to start looking at the spring semester. And you need to start ASAP to put in your applications, ASAP. And that is why we have to work with all of you to make sure that we get things started. It is very important that we do this now. So Robin, I'm really glad, Shelley, I'm really glad to send students your way, also to visit campus as well.
I've been answering some questions in the chat too. So
see.
As always, this has been great.
I see you have.
Shelley,
Yes.
so someone sent a question here that I would like you to. Okay. Someone sent, hi, please. I wanted to ask about an undergraduate student who will be completing in August to pursue a master's in public health for the spring semester. Please, when is the deadline? As I said, please, maybe Shelley, you can talk about the deadlines, please.
Yeah, sure. So for the spring, I've answered a couple of questions about graduate that people have sent me directly. I'm going to share a link with you all that lists all of our graduate programs. And this is probably the best site you can have for graduate programs at Alabama, because it lists each of our departments, and it also lists contacts and deadlines and what's required for each program. So I just put that link in the chat box for everyone to see. And you can click on your program. It shows you who the director is, the application contact, if there is a deadline for application submission, and someone else has also asked me about application fees. At the undergraduate level, the application fee is $40, and at the graduate level, it's $80.
Okay. Thank you all very much. And I think we've gone 8 minutes past the time. We told you you're gonna stop a hard deadline, or hard stopping at 11 a.m. my time. That is, I think, 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. South Africa, or 6 p.m. South African time. So thank you all for joining, and please reach out to me and let's see how we can be of best to you and how we can help you with the application process. I know a lot of you like to take the initiative of doing things. I don't want you to get to the middle of the sea and then call me and say, hey, Dr. Boache, can you help with this? Can you help with that? Or Robin, can you help with this? Can you help with that? Mr. Theophilus, can you help with this or that? Please reach out to us so that we can be a solution to your study abroad problems. And it's nice having you all here, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Owusu, can I ask one more question? Just one more parting shot. I'm always the strategic thinker in the room. Can I ask Shelley and Adriana, is there scope for an open call for University of Alabama science students to apply for the Proudly Human initiative? Do we see a collaboration there at all, Adriana? Unmute. Unmute yourself, Adriana.
Degrees in physics don't help you with that sometimes. Yeah, Proudly Human is a fundamentally collaborative entity, so we are open to discussions about collaboration as broadly as possible. Really enjoyed hearing the additional info about the University of Alabama that I wasn't aware of, so thanks so much, Shelley. Yeah, I mean, I felt a bit of envy that I'm not also applying for an undergraduate degree currently, because so many options. I think apply is the answer to that. The collaboration with Alabama would love to discuss it, of course. But let me just take this opportunity to squeeze in some last words. And I think when opportunities arise, it's really our responsibility to actually pursue them. And I think this is a really fantastic opportunity that's been presented to you guys today. So pursue. In terms of applications, I mean, I applied to go to Mars on a one-way trip. So I apply for all sorts of crazy things. The worst that can happen is that you amend your application for the next time around. So yeah, fantastic opportunity today. And anyone who's who's interested in Proudly Human, or gets inspired to go do a degree, perhaps because you want to develop a food system for the surface of Mars, or you want to look at food security back home. I mean, great comments about being inspired through direct problem solving, you know, being passionate about why you want to study what you're studying. And yeah, didn't really answer the question, but thanks, Robin.
Thank you so much for that. So I think as we draw to a close and we're over time now, thank you everybody for joining in. Thank you, Shelley and Adriana, for availing your time. And hopefully we will see an influx of applications for any STEM related subjects.
Thank you. I appreciate the time today.
Thank you. And thank you everybody for participating. We are pleasantly surprised by the participation level this evening. And hopefully when we have the next one, please have a look out, because these sessions are going to be held once a month. And we hope to grow the conversation and inspire more youth. I've noticed that we have gone beyond Southern Africa. We've got some participation from other parts of the continent, and that's very encouraging. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Robin, and thank you, Shelley, Adriana. It's nice to listen to this. I'm going to also share the link with students who really want to be part of your project or the project you talked about. And Shelley too, thank you. We really appreciate you all.